go. Hot. Mm-mm.
This is the Red Barn.
Well, good evening, barn burners, Barneys and Bettys. Good to have you with us on Red Barn Radio. I'm Brad Becker. This is season 19 of Red Barn Radio, and tonight we welcome you to show number 745. And John, that's a good number right there. And you know, incidentally, this is the last show of season 19. We're going dark next week to prepare for episode 1 of season 20, John, Adam, everybody who's here. We start up season 20 on September 1st, and we know you'll be there with us. And as I say, tonight is our final show of season number 19. Our staff and our artists so appreciate that you continue to visit the Red Barn Radio YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch channels to enjoy our Wednesday live streams. And speaking of staff, tonight is a special night on one other count, bittersweet special, in that our dear buddy, staff member, family member, film guy, associate producer Adam Schrodinger, who is standing right here behind me, is moving on to take follow some exciting opportunities, and we are going to miss him dearly. Adam, I don't really know what else to say except we're going to miss you.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, and Adam says, in a true Adam way, he says, yes, you will miss me. And that is Adam Schrodinger in a nutshell. This week we bring to Red Barn blues artist Reverend Freakchild. In the tradition of such Holy Blues Reverends as Reverend Gary Davis, such is the irreverent Reverend Freakchild. The Rev has done some terrific collaborative work with musicians including Melvin Seals, Mark Karan, Chris Parker, Hugh Pool, Jay Collins, and Grammy-nominated G Love of G Love and Special Sauce. And we are thrilled to have him with us here in Kentucky tonight to be with us on Red Barn Radio. Welcome, Reverend Freakchild, to the Red Barn stage.
You, man.
Good to have you.
Well, we'll start. Hey, thank you. Yeah, well, I guess we'll start out with one for a rock and roll hero that recently passed away, old Dusty Hill from a little old band from Texas. And maybe we'll send this one out to him, and you know, maybe you got a loved one or somebody that just left. Well, now Jesus just left Chicago and they're bound for New Orleans. I say now Jesus just left Chicago and they're bound for New Orleans. Yeah. Well, now he work at one point to the other, yeah, and all points in between. Well, I took a jump through Mississippi. They turning muddy waters, yeah, in the Holy holy wine. Well, I took a jump through Mississippi, turning muddy water into holy wine. Yeah, yeah. Well, it flows out to California, yeah, to the far side of the pine. Take me with you, Jesus. Now you might not see him in person, but I'll see you just the same. I say now you might not see him in person, but I'll see you just the same. Yeah, yeah. But you don't have to worry, yeah, 'cause taking care of business is his name. I say you don't have to worry, yeah, 'cause taking care of business is his name. I say now you don't have to worry, 'cause taking care of business is his name. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Red Barn Radio. Wherever in the world you're listening, welcome to Roots Music Southern Style. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. Red Barn Radio is supported by Visit Lex, Lexington, Kentucky's Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information on what Lexington has to offer is at visitlex.com. LexArts, Lexington, Kentucky's premier cultural development, advocacy, and fundraising organization, working for the development of a strong and vibrant arts community as a means of enhancing the quality of life in Central Kentucky. Follow Red Barn Radio on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Here's the host of Red Barn Radio to tell us more about tonight's performers.
While he now lives in Colorado, the Rev grew up in Hawaii and also spent a great deal of time living and playing in New York. He holds a degree in philosophy and religion from Northeastern University in Boston. He continues to perform and preach, proclaiming, "Music is my religion. Through song, I seek transcendence." Also known as the Reverend Billy Sunday, Reverend Lovechild, and Fortomatic. Our guest tonight, he's laughing. Our guest tonight is with us tonight for a very special solo acoustic program. We're so glad to have him. Get ready for a great show. We got Reverend Freakchild on the Red Barn stage.
Right on. Thanks, Brad. Thank you all for having me. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, many incarnations. I figure if I inhabit many identities, I will soon realize the identitylessness, the selflessness that is the nature of reality. But anyway, speaking of which, that last one from Dusty Hill there, but maybe we'll do one for all the ancestors. A lot of mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers and great-great-great-great-grandmothers and grandfathers did a lot of work to get us here to this present moment, and I don't know what the Iroquois, I guess, were the Indians, the native peoples down here, and maybe we'll send some out to the spirits that are, still maybe floating around, and all the Westerners that have come and gone, and all the animals that have come and gone. I think that about covers it, right? All the sentient beings here that have slipped on to the other worlds or whatever. But we'll do old Texas bluesman, Lionel Lemon Jefferson. This is a tune called "See That My Grave Is Kept Clean." So there's one kind favor you can do for me. Yeah, there's one kind of favor you can do for me. Yeah, there's one kind of favor you can do for me. Just see that their graves are kept clean. Hey! Yeah, there's two white horses following me. Yeah, there's two white horses following me. Say there's two white horses following me. Yeah, waiting on my burial ground. Hey! Now you ever heard that coffin sound? Now you ever heard that coffin sound? Have you ever heard that coffin sound? Even that a poor soul's dead in the ground. Have you ever heard them church bells toll? Heard them church bells toll. Have you ever heard them church bells toll? Mean them that a poor soul dead and gone. Hey! Stops beating and my hands is turning cold. See, when my heart stops beating and my hands is turning cold, believe my heart has stopped beating, now my hands is turning cold. Now I believe what the Bible told. Oh! So there's one kind favor you can do for me. Now there's one kind favor you can do for me. Yeah, there's one kind favor you can do for me. Just see that their graves are kept clean. Hey! One for the ancestors there, one for the ancestors. And I don't mean me harping on the morose, but, you know, it's good to start in the basement here. You know, I actually went down to Gethsemane, the abbey down there, and I don't know if you all been there, you know, but I've been wanting to go there for years, and big fan of Thomas Merton, you know, he spent some time down there, but, you know, these Trappist monks, and I guess there's another set of monks down there. By the way, you know, when folk people tell stories like this, it's just because they're tuning up. So I'm going to let you in on the fourth wall there. But let me get in tune here. I'll tell you the story. But I was down there, and Thomas Merton, you know, spent some time there. And I was kind of unimpressed because you can't really get on the grounds where the monks are, but you can wander around all the whole place. I mean, it's a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong. I guess I just thought I was going to be enlightened or see God or something down there. But I did hang around. And, you know, there's a cemetery, like, right before you walk into the abbey. So it's like, wow. This is how I'm starting the show, too, man. Let's start in the basement. Hey, we're going to die. You know, it's just part of being alive, you know. And sometimes, like my shaman says to me, you got to have a go-to shaman. I'm actually going to visit him on Saturday up in upstate New York. But he says, when we're aware of death, it makes our life more precious. Because we know, even if you live to about 90 years old, that's 30,000 days. That's it. So enjoy your time here on planet Earth. But anyway, I'm out at the Abbey over there, and if you get a chance, check it out. I stuck around for the Vespers, which is this, sort of evening prayer. And, I guess originally the Abbey that they kind of, pivoted off of here in Kentucky, which was first in France, 1098, man. That's like 1,000 years ago, right? So I was like, wow. And they just had this ease about them, like, hey, man, things come and go, man. We're still here, It was just wild and refreshing to feel that vibe from those guys that were just like, we're just living, man. We're here on the planet, enjoying the life, God or the universe or whatever gave us. So anyway, here's another one for all the spirits out there. It's called In My Time of Dying. I don't know who wrote this song. It's old as the hills, old as these beautiful hills here in Kentucky. Well, now, in my time of dying, don't want nobody to mourn. All I want my friends to do is to fold my dying arm. I say, well, so I can die easy. Well, so I can die, Lord. I say, well, so I can die easy. Jesus gonna make 'em, Jesus gonna make 'em, Jesus gonna make 'em a dying baby. Meet me, Jesus, meet me in the middle of the air. And if this wings should fail me, Lord, just meet me with another pair. I say, well, so I can die easy. Well, so I can die, Lord. I say, well, so I can die easy. Jesus gonna make 'em, Jesus gonna make 'em, Jesus gonna make 'em a dying baby. Thank you all. You're too kind. And yeah, maybe we'll, yeah, it's good here to be here in Kentucky. It's just beautiful, man. Those rolling hills. And, I guess there's some heavy stuff going on, overseas and right here in our backyard. But, I like to think of myself as a citizen of the universe, but also an American, man. I was born in West Point, New York, and grew up in Hawaii, and moved back east, New York. Went to school in Boston, and then out to Colorado. I worked in New York for years, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country. And we got to get together, people, man. We got to reach across the aisle, reach across the universe, man. We're all humans on this planet, man. Come on, we can get it together, baby. We gotta love with one another, man. And anyway, this is a Freakchild original. I wrote this little tune about the 4 thoughts that turn one's mind towards the Dharma. And the Dharma is just like the Buddha's teachings, right? I've been spending a lot of time out in Boulder, Colorado, studying this universe called Naropa. I'm about ready to get my Master of Divinity. I got my undergraduate in philosophy. I like to say I got my BS in BS. Hey, ching. Where's the hey? Is this thing on? Hey, what's going on? So, but yeah, I'm working on my Master of Divinity. I'm writing the final thesis here, but anyway, yeah, studying a lot of Buddhism. And people ask me, well, why are you a Buddhist? Like, I was raised Christian, my mama used to Texas Presbyterian, read us out of the Bible and stuff like that, and I guess maybe I was a Buddhist in a past life. I don't know. But anyway, here's and it's there's no conflict, man. It's like Buddhism. There's no deity. So if you need a causal nexus or a prime mover, man, like I can go back to my my faith of origin, that I grew up with. But Buddhism's just amazing, it's just a lot of amazing philosophy and compassion, and everything's done for the benefit of all sentient beings. And this teaching about the 4 thoughts that turn one's minds towards the Dharma, which is really like the Buddhist teachings or the nature of reality. And it's it's all about recognizing that we have this beautiful, precious human existence, and this human existence is impermanent. And then it talks about karma and samsara, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, here's a tune called All I Got Is Now. Yeah, well, future tripping all night long, trying to figure out, what might go wrong. Yeah, well, I'm waking up, and my mind's a mess. That's 'cause I keep forgetting life's preciousness. Yeah, 'cause yesterday's a history, tomorrow's our mystery. All I got is now, but I keep forgetting that somehow. Well, now, let's all face it, we all's gonna die. Ain't nobody come back from that except maybe Jesus on high. Well, all precious impermanence. I got an attitude of gratitude. Just gotta live my life, and stop asking why. 'Cause yesterday's a history, tomorrow's our mystery. All I got is now, but I keep forgetting that somehow. Get what you want, that ain't real happiness. Seeking God in yourself, that's just a kind of emptiness. But if you can want just what you get, that's what my Lama says is the best thing yet. 'Cause yesterday's a history, tomorrow's our mystery. All I got is now, but I keep forgetting that somehow. Well, just remember, whatever you might do, good, bad, or beautiful, gonna come back on you, So you find yourself, in a real hellish place, better appeal to the better angels of your being and move on through that space, 'cause yesterday's a history, tomorrow's our mystery. 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 All I got is now. All we got is now. I say everything is now, man. You know what I'm saying? Can you dig it? Now. The Freakchild original there, yes. Woo!
Hey, is it time for us to talk?
Hey, let's talk.
All right, let's do it. All right.
Little dialogue.
Yeah, let's have some dialogue. So, hey, how cool that you got to go to Gethsemane.
I know, that was beautiful. I've been wanting to do that for
First
years.
time.
I was here, and somebody told me about it years ago when I was passing through playing a gig, and I thought, wow, is that the place that Thomas Merton stayed for a while? And for some reason, I thought it was like the place that he made, but of course, he was just in that tradition, and I guess it was like the late 1800s they built that place, so they've been doing that thing. It's a farm out there now.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. And I don't know how long Merton was actually there, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah, and of course, he died an untimely death.
Yeah.
He met this guy, Chogyam Trungpa, who was the founder of Naropa, and they were talking about doing interreligious dialogues, And they met in India, and soon after that, he like died in some freak accident where like,
think it was a bathtub.
It was in the bathtub, and I guess the hairdryer or fan like fell in there. So be careful. Word to the wise people, don't mix your electricity in your water. There. Yeah, exactly. Bummer.
Yeah,
Man.
well, they've got some cool stuff going on, and there's also a history of Merton's relationship with Dalai Lama.
Oh, sure.
The Dalai Lama
Yeah.
has been to Gethsemane at least a couple of times.
Yeah.
Comes in there on a helicopter.
Well, that's one of the silver linings of the pandemic. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, does these talks at the request of many people around the world, and now he was doing them from his residence in Dharamsala, northern India. He's in the diaspora there. He's actually technically retired. He's just a spiritual leader. They have a elected prime minister, in absentia. So he would be doing these teachings, and I'm in Colorado, and that's 11 and a half hours difference from Dharamsala. So it's 9 in the morning, and they're doing teachings. It's 9:30 at night. I'm like, dude, let's sit on the meditation cushion and listen to the Dalai Lama, man. This is cool. I wouldn't have had this teaching. I would have had to go all the way to Dharamsala or wherever he was teaching, Taiwan or wherever he was requested to teach. So it's pretty amazing. So yeah, and that's one of the His Holiness's I don't know what he calls them, tenets or sort of. That first is that we're all humans here, it's a humanity kind of thing. The second is religious harmony because he's a religious leader. I think the third is that of course he's Tibetan, so he has to promote his own peoples and stuff like that. And the fourth, I think, is just sort of education, local education. So he's working with like local schools in India there. So yeah, that religious harmony, man. It's just I guess what is that Angel Heart movie with the guy Louis Cypher, Robert De Niro playing? He says there's enough religion in the world to make men hate, but not love, isn't there? It's like we need more then, or less, or whatever, man. Whatever it takes to, realize that we're all just on this planet trying to, put some food on our families, that old Bush used to say, right? And, enjoy a little time here on dancing on the planet Earth, man.
Well, next time you're next time you're back to this area, and you want to get the inside of Gethsemane, I'll set you up with a wristband.
Oh, let's do it. I need to
get the inside there.
I need to get the inside scoop next time. I mean, it's kind of, I always feel weird at those places because, one time I was up at this Chanyun Monastery up in upstate New York, and it was actually right near where this shaman guy, the medicine man, I'm going to go visit. But and it was like about 5 o'clock, and the monk was like, "Hey, come here, help me. Take the offerings, all these fruits and stuff." And they're eating them. It's offering to the universe or whatever, good merit. And then the monks eat them. It's like, hey, this is food. We're gonna eat it. And I'm like sitting there eating orange with the monk, and I'm like, oh my God, it's closing time. I'm like, dude, I better get out of here. They're gonna make me a monk. My girlfriend's gonna kill me.
Hey, I wonder, why don't we get started acquainting people with who you are? Could you go back to? Why don't you let us look inside the window of your kidhood and talk about your early memories of how music came to you.
Who am I? It's a question.
How did your family bring music to you?
Yes, my mother was a classical pianist. She used to play with the Houston Symphony. So there was a lot of, I don't hear you practicing in there, and I'd be like, yeah, Mom, whatever, Brahms, Beethoven, Bach, blah, blah, blah.
Piano, huh?
And then my dad would take me driving, like, on Saturdays, and he'd be like, you don't have to put your seatbelt on. I mean, this is the 70s, right? And he'd be like, whatever, man, we're going to drive around, And he'd be turning me on to Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, and it was the 70s, so there was some ABBA, and there was some Neil Diamond, and Fleetwood Mac. I must have listened to Rumors like 1,008 times.
You and a lot of people.
Yeah, and that had like a blues rhythm to it. Like that used to be a blues band. Those guys were with John Mayall.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever thought of Rumors. I don't know if I'm going to go back and listen to Rumors now, but I don't know that I hear.
Well,
a
Lindsey
ton of blues
Buckingham's even playing he's playing a resonator on one tune.
Oh yeah, right.
And the
Listen to the Wind Blow tune, right?
Oh, so
right.
beautiful.
Yeah, right.
I could listen to that album again. It's an amazing album. So I was born in West Point, New York. Actually going back up there to a couple football games with my dad. He's still involved there. He's a West Pointer. And then we moved to Hawaii when I was 2. And, I grew up like going to school without shoes on, So we moved back east.
Why'd you move to Hawaii?
My dad had got a job. You usually follow those people that are clothing and feeding you when you're 9 years old. It's like,
what kind of job took him to Hawaii?
Yeah, he got involved with the oil industry out there after he got let go from his military service.
Oh, okay.
He did 2 tours in Vietnam, and for anybody out there, thank you for your service. Welcome home, and I know there's a lot of heartache with the whole Afghanistan thing, but, there is no easy way to lose a war. It just, we can call it a tie, we can call it whatever, but it just sucks. So, we got to it's a big shit sandwich, we got to take a bite, and...
You are a preacher.
Hey, I don't know what you expected here. It's a Wednesday night, but he is a Reverend Freakchild. You can get a teaching and a preaching. What are you going to do, But,
so you left Hawaii and then...
so we moved back east. My dad got another job in finance in New York. So we moved to Connecticut, and that was weird, man. I was coming from the islands, and my mom was like, "You have to wear shoes to work, or shoes to shoes to school." And I was like, "Why?" Like, why? And she's like, because it's going to start snowing soon. I was like, snowing? Right. What's that? And you saw a little bit of snow on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa growing up, but that was a trip, man. And like, the uptight East Coast people, it was like, man, just chill out. So I moved back out to, Colorado after many years back there, and was like, oh, right, this is more my speed, And it's not just the pot smoking. It's just people, I think it's the sunshine, It's like, wow, man, it's cool. Everything's cool, man.
You're in Colorado.
Yeah, in Colorado, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going on 16 years sober, so maybe that's another thing to say, like people out there just lay hands on the radio, addiction is you're not to blame for that, but you are responsible for your own recovery, So there's a lot of people that want to help you out, and just hang in there, be tough. A lot of beautiful things happen in this world, It's a heavy thing, man.
Yeah. I want to talk about that some.
Sure.
But I want you to go back to New York though. So So how long did you actually stay in New York?
So New York, I actually really lived and worked there after I went to university. After I got my BS and BS from Northeastern University, and I played in a great rock and roll jam band called Banana Fish for years, and that was really fun. Those were the years we got paid in beer, and we're like, we're gonna get paid well, and that was really fun, and it was great. And
this was a band out of New York.
It was actually out of Boston.
Oh, okay.
And then moved back down to New York, and actually got sober and was able to be of greater service, and started working with cancer kids and raising money for cancer kids and their families getting treatment in the area hospitals in New York. And I got burnt out on that job, seeing cancer, kids go to the hospital and never come back, and just. I went to a healer one time, and he put his hands on me, for 30 seconds. He's like, okay, I'm going to take my hands off of you now because I am getting overwhelmed. I was like, wow, dude, I'm putting off a lot of heavy energy. I've seen and I just you envision all the kids that have died of that, and it was like thousands, So I was like, wow, I think it's time to take a break. So I went on this Buddhist pilgrimage in 2012, and that changed my life, man. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been to India, but it's the same planet, but it's a whole nother world, The whole Judeo-Christian thing is slipped out. There's no, I was like going to museums like weeks before I went, like, okay, let me get used to looking at dudes with tons of arms and Shivas and, Brahmas and all kinds of stuff and Buddhas. And I went with this guy, Bernie Glassman. He's a Zen master. Actually, I went and tried to give him a copy of that tune, All I Got Is Now, right? And I'm sitting there, and I have it in my jacket. I remember this so distinctively. And I was at a meditation retreat, and he was teaching on something, and it was the lunch break. And I was about to give him the CD with the, the title track is All I Got Is Now. And he turned around and he said, hey, man, when's lunch? And I was like, I don't know, Bernie. And this he's like a Brooklyn Jew, and he worked on the space program. He's like a genius. And then he started being the abbot at the LA Zen Center. I mean, he can look deeply into your eyes, and you just, oh, wait, was that enlightenment? What was that? This guy is totally vibrating on a whole another level. And so he turns to me and goes, what time's lunch, man? And I was like, I don't know, Bernie. And Roshi Joan Halifax, we were in the Upaya Zen Center in New Mexico. She said, Bernie, it's right now. And he looked deep in my eyes. And here I am about to give him a song called All I Got Is Now. And he looks deep in my eyes and he goes, everything is now, man. And I was like, okay, let me just put this away. I got some work to do. So now I say not only I got, it's like too much ego. The I and God is clinging. It's like, no, let go of the I, man. Let go of the clinging. Just everything is now, man. And I was like, wow, that was an intense teaching. And I didn't even really ask for it. It was like I was approaching the guru, and he just felt my energy and put it back on me, and I was like, wow, this guy is amazing.
So why'd you want to give Bernie that song? Do you know him as a person who likes music?
Well, it's a song about the 4 thoughts that turn one's mind towards the Dharma. So it's sort of like a Buddhist teaching, hey man, am I on the right track? Is this cool? You like to check in with your teachers of am I on the right path? Because they're just further down the path than us.
So you were more interested in him sort of seeing the lyric and seeing
right,
what you were thinking about. He's
a rocker. We actually went to India, and the last day I busted out my harp and started playing it under the Bodhi tree. He's like, man, why aren't you playing that harp from day one, man? That was awesome, And I was like, man, I was just trying to be respectful of the silence and stuff and meditating, So, the enlightenment comes in different forms. They say there's 84,000 different ways to, get enlightened. So maybe music's one, maybe meditation's one, maybe, coming to Kentucky and hanging out with you all is another, I don't know.
Well, you have to tell us that. We hope it is.
We'll see. We'll see, if we survive. I hope everybody's getting the vaccine and not sneezing on each other,
Hey, I think we're doing the best we can, I think. I think that's what's going on here. Hey, folks, we got Reverend Freakchild with us here on Red Barn Radio tonight. A lot of music to come, a lot of conversation to come. We're glad to have you with us.
Hey, thanks
Welcome
for having
back,
me.
Reverend Freakchild.
Right on. Well, here's a tune that if you lived through the '80s, you probably recognize this when we put a little gospel blues thing on it. Though, look at a little something like this. Well, you're on, pressing on, Jesus, someone who cares, yeah, to hear your prayer. Yeah, you're on, pressing on, Jesus, yeah, someone who cares, yeah, to hear your prayer. Unknown and you're all alone, yeah, flesh and bone by the telephone. Yeah, pick up the receiver, he'll make you a believer. Yeah, second best, put 'em to the test. Yeah, things on your chest, yeah, you need to confess. He's a forgiver, you know he will deliver. Reach out and touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Yeah, reach out and touch faith. Oh, the old personal geniuses. That little Martin L. Gore tune there, man. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you grew up, if you lived through the 80s, like I must have heard that song like 1,000 times, right? It's a cool tune, you know, and sort of brought it back to the gospel blues there with a little bluesy version. And we do a great version, if I don't say so myself, with Hugh Pool playing some harmonica and a whole bunch of guys on the new album. And speaking of people on albums, you know, we had this album it was really a 2020 album called Bodhisattva Blues. And Bodhisattva is like, Bodhi means, you know, awake, and a sattva is a being, so it's sort of an awake being. It's like a Buddha in training. Anyway, it's like that Steely Dan song. You're like, Bodhisattva, won't you take me by the hand? Exactly, right. So we had this thing called Bodhisattva Blues, and it was really about revisiting these old Grateful Dead tunes that the Dead had done, you know, sort of passed through their set lists. And I made friends with this guy, Mark Karan, who used to play in Rat Dog with Bob Weir. And we just had this great conversation over chicken and waffles in Fairfax, California, and we were just talking about our love of the blues, and we wanted to put a sort of an album together that sort of was bringing that, you know, like I grew up bringing that stuff back to the blues almost. You know, I grew up with a dad who was playing me the blues, you know, so I'm listening to Jimmy Reed, like Big Boss Man, right? And and then I'm, you know, getting stoned as a teenager, and somebody's like, "Oh man, you got to check out this Grateful Dead stuff," and I was like, "Oh cool," and they banging out with Big Boss Man, Pigpen, when they were a blues band, and I was like, "Oh, this is Jimmy Reed," and they're like, "No, this is the Grateful Dead." I was like, "No, this is Jimmy Reed," and so we kind of brought some of that back, and the Grateful Dead start that tune with some guitar licks, and we started with a harmonica lick, and that kind of stuff, and anyway, it was a great project. I got to work with Melvin Seals, who's an amazing organ player, and Mark Karan, he was an amazing guitarist. And a couple other cats, I've been recording actually with this other fellow, Chris Parker, who's played with Bob Dylan, so, name dropping all day long, but at the end of the day, they're great musicians. That's why they play with all these great guys. And I'm always like, "You want to play with me?" And they're like, "No, man, we dig what you do." And I was like, "All right, cool, man, And it was funny because, I was talking to Melvin on some of this stuff. We were doing a version of John Lennon's Your Blues, which is, mostly the Beatles are really upbeat, but Your Blues is like really heavy duty, talking about being down and out and whatever on drugs or whatever it is, depression. And I said, "Melvin, we're going to do like a blues tune with gospel feel." And he was like, "Okay." And at the end we did a gospel outro instead of swinging it. And Ringo's just brilliant, John Lennon says, "Feel so suicidal, I even hate my rock and roll." And then Ringo tries to swing it at the end. We listen to the song. You're like, "Oh my God, it gets a little brighter. It's a little more cheery, right?" Yeah, But so we were trying to do it like a jazz thing. And Chris Parker, who's actually a jazz drummer now, who played with Dylan for years and has played with everybody, like Joe Cocker and Stevie Wonder and all kinds of stuff. And he said, "You're the Rev. Why don't we do a gospel outro?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that's perfect." And so Melvin just kills it. He's just playing gospel. And for people that don't know, Melvin Seals is the guy who played with Jerry Garcia for years in the Jerry Garcia band. So it got into this whole sort of hippie zone, and I just thought everybody knew I was a Deadhead. I was like, I do like a version of Death Don't Have No Mercy, which is an old Reverend Gary Davis tune, probably older than him. He was just doing it, but then Yorma and the Hot Tuna did it, and the Grateful Dead did it, and I thought, oh wow, I'm just sort of in. And finally, I got to sort of Skeletons in the Closet sort of came out during the pandemic. I was like, "Hey man, let's record with these guys." It was actually right before the pandemic, and it was just the time to do it. So it all kind of came together, and working on actually another project with these guys soon. As soon as I can get back out to California, which might not be until next year. I mean, we'll see what's happening with this COVID thing. I think people are going to lay low with the Delta thing over the winter again. But hey man, time goes on, marching going on, just hanging out with those Trappist monks over there. They're just like, "Yeah, whatever, another season. We've been here for 1,000 years." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. All right. No problem." Just smell the flowers. Anyway, so, the Grateful Dead catalog is amazing because, not everybody writes them off because they're hippies or they're stoned or whatever, but, they really mind the American songbook as well as writing their own tunes. And there's this great piece with Robert Hunter, who's, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead. And Bob Weir goes to, talk about songwriting here. I was actually talking with a friend of mine, Stahl Vaughn, who I know is a friend of the show. He's a great player, give a shout out to him, and a great songwriter. We were talking about writing more songs. Anyway, Bob Weir goes to Robert Hunter and says, what, everybody keeps asking me over the years, what does Dark Star mean, this tune? And so Robert Hunter just lays back, recites the lyrics, and says, "What's there to explain?" So actually, this was the first single, man. Kind of crazy version, but it goes a little something like this in the country blues style. Star crashes, pouring its light into ashes. matters. The forces tear loose from the axis and searchlight casting for the faults in the clouds of delusion. Or shall we go, you and I, while we can? Through the transitive nightfall of diamond. Into formless reflections of matter and gliss and dissolving into ice petal flowers revolving. Oh, late in velvet recedes into the nights of goodbye. Oh, shall we go, you and I, while we can? Through the transitive nightfall of diamond. Trucking, got my chips cashed in, I keep it trucking like a doodah man. Yeah, together, more or less in line, I'll just keep it trucking. Yeah, arrows on the end and flashing marquees on Main Street. Chicago, New York, Detroit, and it's all on the same street. Your typical city involving your typical daydream. Hang it up to see what tomorrow brings. Yeah, Dallas got a soft machine. Yeah, Houston, too close to New Orleans. Yeah, New York got some ways and means, but just won't let you be. Well, most of the cats that you meet on the streets have no true love. Most of the time they're sitting and crying at home. One of these days, they better get going. Out of the door and down on the street all alone. Yeah, trucking like a doodah man. Said once told me you got to play your hand. Sometimes the cards are worth a dime if you don't live down. Well, sometimes the lights all shining on me. a mellow slow. It takes time. You pick a place to go and just keep it trucking. Keep on trucking, yeah. Well, sitting and staring out of the hotel window. Got a tip they're gonna kick the door in again. But I like to get some sleep before I travel. But if you got a warrant, I guess you're gonna come in. Yeah, busted down a Bourbon Street. Yeah, set up like a bowling pin. Yeah, knocked down against the wearing fan. Just won't let you be. Yeah. Well, you're tired of hanging around and you want to travel. You're tired of traveling, you want to settle down. But I guess they can't revoke your soul for trying. Get out of the door and let out look all around. Sometimes the light's so shining on me. Well, other times I can barely see you. Well, lately it occurred to me what a long, strange trip it's been. I'm a-going home. Whoa, baby, back where I belong. Back home, sit down and patch my bones and get back trucking. Yeah, get back trucking on. Yeah, get back trucking on. Yeah, get back trucking on.
Hey, we're going to be back with more music with Rev Freakchild in just a minute, but I got to tell you some stuff here. Next week, as we prepare for the grand opening of our 20th season of broadcasting, we will not actually be staging a live stream program next week. Next Wednesday night, no live stream program. But that doesn't mean, of course, that you have to be without your Red Barn Radio fix. Get up on our channels and view or review our last week's amazing show with Woody Woodward and the Piners, or one of our archived performances with folks such as, Sam Bush, Tom T. Hall, Arlo McKinley, local honeys. For heaven's sakes, there's plenty to listen to out there. Get back to it. Got to tell you, though, our guests for the momentous occasion of season opening live stream are some musicians you've got to hear. Who am I talking about? Well, Bill and the Bells. We've been looking forward to this show for months, but this shouldn't come as a surprise to you. We're the program that's been bringing you roots music, Southern style for 20 years. So join us. Episode 1, Season 20. We're going to dish up a heaping helping of Southern style at 7 p.m., September 1, with Bill and the Bells. Now let's get back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program. We come to you live on our social media platforms, broadcasting from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the grand city of Lexington, Kentucky. And now welcome back Reverend Freakchild to the Red Barn stage.
Thank you. Yeah, right on. Oh, hallelujah. Round of applause. Yeah, hey, so maybe I'll put there's a fine line between Saturday night and Sunday morning, so, especially when you're staying up all night, man, on some strangeness. But, yeah, it's a pleasure being here, and thank you all for having me, and maybe we'll do a little blues set here. We'll start off with this old Jimmy Reed classic. Maybe we'll enlist my soloist here. See, I got my rhythm section here. Oh, yeah. Sure, yeah, this is Big Boss Man. Old Jimmy Reed classic. Anyway, I got the rhythm section here, we got the whole band here, and a soloist here. And I'll sing you a little tune called Big Boss Man. It's old Jimmy Reed tune. Yeah, Big Boss Man. Can't you hear me when I call? Yeah, Big Boss Man. Can't you hear me when I call. Yeah, well, you ain't so big. You just talk, that's just about all. Well, you got me waking, boss man, working round the clock. Go for a drink of water, but you sure won't let me stop. Yeah, big boss man. Can't you hear me when I call? Well, you ain't so big. You just talk, that's just about all. Well, I'm gonna get me the boss man. Wanna treat me right. Work hard in the daytime. Rest easy at night, yeah, big boss man. Hey, can't you hear me when I call? Well, you ain't so big. You just talk, that's just about all. I got that old Jimmy Reed classic. You know, my dad raised me on these tunes, so, you know, and I can always hear him saying, like, white boy playing the blues, isn't that what they call rock and roll? You know, so it's like he's always giving me a hard time, you know. Can't win for losing. Anyway, his old John Lee Hooker tune called Boom, Boom, Boom. Now, this is a perfect song. Say if you're playing a gig, you see a lady, you see your lady walking up, maybe dancing in the audience, and you say, boom, 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 really knocked me out, right off of my feet. You come home with me, 'cause I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. When you talk to me, yeah, that baby talk. You whisper in my ear. You tell me you love me, make me feel so good. Yeah, yeah, make me feel so good. Yeah. Yeah. Knock me out, right off of my feet. Take me home with you. 'Cause I like the way you walk, and I like the way she talk. When she talk to me, yeah, she whisper in my ear. Tell me you love me, make me feel so good. Yeah. This is the endless boogie. I was playing a gig one time. We played this for about 4 hours. People just boogieing. Yeah. And he's feeling it. Dancing. Vibing on it, you know what I'm saying? It was choice. It was Cheeto, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That gives you a little taste of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, well, this next one we got a little limited studio crew in here, but I'm gonna try to invite them to get in touch with their inner animal. We're gonna do Little Red Rooster. So there's a there's a time when in this song when it says, when the dogs begin to bark and the hounds begin to howl. So you could be a dog or a hound. I grew up with basset hounds, man. My dad would get we had 3 at one point. My dad would get them going. One was more like a mutt, so it would bark. And one was, I think, a little inbred. And one was a real alpha male, and he would just amazing sense of smell. You know, they could smell bacon for like 3 miles away, and amazing hearing and amazing just vocals. And my dad would get him howling, and my mom would be like, "Oh yeah, Bill, just stop encouraging those dogs." You know, they're just beautiful animals. But anyway, man's best friend, right? And so, you know, you might be a squirrel or a cockatoo or an elephant or whatever. You know, get in touch with your inner animal, whether you're here in the studio or out there in Radio Land or Video Land or wherever you land you be. And howl and feel it, man. Get in touch with or maybe just a human. So anyway, this old, I guess this is a Willie Dixon tune. You know, this is the guy that wrote all those great tunes for Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. But it's called Little Red Rooster. And get a little something like this. Got a little red rooster, too lazy to cross my day. Got a little red rooster, too lazy to cross my day. Keep everything in the barnyard upset in every way. Yeah, here we go. So when the dog began to bark, yeah, and the hound began to howl. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said, when the dog began to bark, yeah, and the hounds, they began to howl. People, hit a little red roosters on the ground. Yeah, so you see my little red rooster, won't you please just drive home? Yeah, you see my little red rooster, won't you please just drive home? No peace in the barnyard till that little red rooster might be gone. Yeah. Come on, help me out, people. When the dog begin to bark, yeah, and the hound they begin to howl. Yeah, yeah. When the dog begin to bark, yeah, and the hound begin to howl. People, the little red roosters on the brown. Thank you all for helping me out on that one. Right on.
You know, we used to have a rooster.
Really?
The sound of a rooster that would come off at halftime every
wow.
show.
Well,
you remember that, Ed? That was so much fun. We ought to maybe bring that back for season 20. I don't know.
Yeah, the rooster.
Maybe an electronic version of it or something. Bring us into the new era.
Right on.
Hey, wow, that's fun. That was great fun.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was cool the way you played that ZZ Top tune that John Lee Hooker covered. That was awesome. No,
yeah.
Kidding. Yeah, you're right.
Right. It was, exactly. I got that. You know, I went to a show one time with a friend of mine, and it was back in my using days, so we were pretty out of it. I don't know what on, but we went to see J.J. Cale. And my buddy goes, "Why does he keep on playing Eric Clapton songs?" I was like, "No, those are his songs."
Yeah, whoa, yeah,
right. And so that's a great boogie, you know. And yeah, ZZ Top, you know. Hopefully they gave some money to the John Lee Hooker estate.
I should hope so.
You know, John Lee Hooker Jr. is doing his thing. I think he had a preacher thing for a minute there, and I don't know if he's back to the blues or whatever, but he's around and about. I had some album of his like live from Turkey or something like that. But yeah, John Lee Hooker, what a force! I got to see him before he died, and I think that was Bob Dylan's claim to fame. He got to open up for John Lee Hooker as his first official gig in New York or whatever. But
Like at a folk
yeah,
at a folk
exactly.
event, right?
And John Lee Hooker had that folk blues thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember this kid came up, and I'm a student of the blues, like John Hammond says, you know. And a student of these blues reverends, you know, that used all the accoutrement, the paraphernalia, or the skillful means of the blues to preach the gospel. You know, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Blind Willie Johnson, you know, Blind Willie McTell, you know, Son House, you know, all these guys, Rube Lacey, you know, Skip James, you know, really playing with all that mythology, you know, of the Christian tableau, you know, and it's pretty amazing, you know, there's a tradition there, you know, and when that whole Black Lives thing happened, you know, and it's still happening, you know, but it kind of blew up over the pandemic, you know, I wasn't surprised, you know, like I've been studying on the blues for years, and you look at the blues, you looking at the history of African-American experience, and you know, even Muddy Waters and Willie Dickinson, all the guys, you know, they passed it on to the next generation, which was mostly British blues guys. It had to go across the pond to realize we had, like, you know, beautiful fruit right in our backyard, you know, kind of thing. So I'm a real student of all that, but you know, it all comes back to the blues, and especially for someone like me, like it's far out, you know, I can always come back to the blues, you know, it's always real, you know, and it's, you know, whether you up or down or enslaved for 400 years or, you know, you're a woman in suffrage, you know, in Afghanistan or whatever, you know, human experience, you got the blues, man, and some people, you know, harsher than others, but we're all human, we all get down, and, you know, we just got to hang in there and be tough. A lot of beautiful things happen in this world, man, you know.
You know, earlier on we were talking about some sort of pivotal moments in your childhood, like when you realized you couldn't go barefoot in Stamford, Connecticut, or at least in school there. But so what are some similar sort of turning points in your adult life, especially ones that sort of maybe turned you to a more contemplative life and
truth be
connection
told,
with your spirituality and your music?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, truth be told, you know, I'm going on 16 years sober, so, you know, one day at a time, all that. And like I said, you know, if anybody's out there listening, you know that there's a lot of help. So just all you got to do is reach out, you know, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And, you know, you get in one of those communities, you'll find everything, one of those recovery communities, you'll find everything that you were looking for in the drugs in a recovery community. You know, fellowship, you know, a way of life, spirituality, you know, a high that you cannot compare when you help somebody else, you know. It's amazing, you know, and so, you know, when I was younger, like I mentioned, you know, my mama used to read to us out of the Bible, and she wasn't a religious zealot. She was just a Texas Presbyterian, you know. But they've been doing that for hundreds of years in this country, hundreds of years back in the old country. That's what you used to do after dinner, and you know, before TV. You know, it was entertainment kind of thing, and also, you know, scripture, and you know, it was either Bible study or choir practice on Wednesday night, and then church on Sunday, and. So when I dropped acid when I was 16, you know, and thought I was Jesus for that weekend, things got a little complicated. I was like, I don't want that job, man. Oh my God, you know, craziness, you know. So the Buddhism, you know, sort of these cool ice cubes of Buddhism in my hot beverage of Christianity, you know, and there's no conflict, man. There's no conflict. There's no problem, man. You know, like we can draw from these different things, you know. I think, you know, later Gospels say, you know, John very influenced, you know, the Gospel of John influenced by a Greek kind of, it was one of the later Gospels, you know, talking about, you know, who's not for me is against me. You know, that's about like getting into your room and getting into your spirituality as a, you know, exclusivist, like turning inward, right? But once you're okay with your spirituality enough that you don't have to proselytize, you know, then, you know, you start to respect people from where they're drilling their well, how they're growing their fruit, you know, which is the fruit of spirituality, you know. And I think that now that I've found a well, not only in Christianity, but also in Buddhism, I'm just more curious, you know. I've let go of the worry and really embraced the wonder of how different people seek different ways of making sense of this world. And for me, for many years, it was like a psychedelic experience, you know. And so I think that's why I'm so hip with like the hippies, because they're like, dude, Reverend Freakchild, what's that? I'm curious, I'm open to it, you know. But that's just the roadmap, man. You know, like that's just the in. And if you keep doing that, then it's going to cause a lot of problems, man. You know, and I don't want to be too preachy about the drug thing, but it's like, hey, man, for me, you know, that's what happened with me. You know, you might be able to take a toke and do whatever, but you know, it is in the blues tradition too. You know, like when Stevie Ray Vaughan got so effed up on stage that he fell off and he broke his leg. I think apparently Albert King said to him, "Hey man, it's all right if you're taking a sip, but if you're falling down and breaking your lip, you might want to look at that." You know what I mean? Like if it's hurting other people, it's hurting yourself. You know, come on, man. You know, and it's no, you're not to blame. You know, it's just like fire. You're playing with fire and you get burned. You know, and there's another way of doing things. So for me, those drug experiences, you know, shaped me, but they didn't necessarily define me. They opened up things, but the real work was sitting on the cushion. You know, it's like you can, you know, get to the same or similar realization by sitting on the cushion for 20 years, you know, an hour a day, as dropping acid. And it's actually much more stable because when you get on that roller coaster of drugs, it's like you're buckled in, dude. Enjoy the ride, you know. On a meditation cushion, you can go to like states that I have never been to, and peace and serenity and ecstasy that I have never experienced with drugs. And it's so much more stable because I can just step off the cushion at any time.
Talk about the transition for
Yeah.
you.
Oh, that was
you
tough,
know,
man.
back to music because you were used to sort of a lifestyle.
Right. That was tough.
Maybe,
For the first 6
you know.
months of recovery, I couldn't even listen to music, man. I mean, it was like it's like that. Remember in Spinal Tap where he's like, "What would you do if you didn't have rock and roll?" He's like, "Well, the sex and the drugs, I could just do that, you know." It's like that was like for me. Like the music wasn't even. I remember being at this gig that I had. It was like my regular, you know. It was a gig in Queens, New York. That was my monthly gig, you know, when I come back and I just hit it, you know, and then I go on tour when I was living in New York. And I remember this guy saying, "Hey, man, where are you touring next?" And he was kind of like living vicariously through me. And I was like, "I'm not touring anywhere, man. I'm like just smoking, drinking, like so in the lifestyle." I didn't say that. I was just sort of like looked at him like, "Oh, right, I haven't booked anything." And I hit a pretty bad bottom. You know, it's like when you're running around the streets of New York City naked thinking you're Lord Shiva, you know, it might be time to sober up. You know, that was me. I was like, "Yes, I am Lord Shiva, the god of death." You know, and it's like the cops are like, "We got another wagon live one, dude. Let's fucking take this guy in," you know? It's like, and luckily they didn't take me downtown and book me. They took me to a mental hospital. I slept it off. And I realized that, you know, some people have some real demons, you know, schizophrenia and stuff like that. They need medication. They maybe need drugs to get more heedful, right? All I needed to do was just stop doing the drugs. And I magically stopped ending up in the drunk tank, you know, like, what did I do last night? Oh my God, you know, kind of thing. So it was as easy as that, but the skillful means, the actual doing it was very difficult. Like I said, for the first 6 months, I couldn't even listen to music. My mama, God bless her, I love her so much. She let me sleep on her couch, hopefully the last time, you know, and I just stayed there, and she let me get sober, and I actually took to the program. I started going to, I didn't go to church per se. I went into this church, and I got this feeling of like, why me? You know, like, complaints. And I would just sit there for a moment. And I was really killing time before an AA meeting. It was on the way to this AA meeting, and it was always open right before that. And I was like, oh, it's a cool place, especially in the winter. You know, it was like nice to not be hanging outside, you know, because it was cold out or whatever. And so I slipped into this church, and I'm in the back pew, and invariably I would leave just being grateful, like, wow, I'm grateful that the girlfriend didn't press charges because I tore up her apartment, right? You know, it was a really bad bottom, you know, and all this stuff. And you don't have to hit bottom. You know, my sponsor would say, you know where your bottom is? It's where you decide to stop digging. That's it. It doesn't have to be like DWIs and, you know, all the stuff that I went through. You can just be like, listen, I don't like doing drugs. It's not good for me. I'm no good at it. You have an allergy or whatever, you know, physical allergy, a mental obsession, and a spiritual malady, you know. And really that's the solution to addiction is, and it seems so counterintuitive to our culture because, wait, well, your solution is either take a pill or get some surgery, you know, or buy a new product or, you know, blah, 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 you know, kind of thing. It's spirituality, which is so antithetical to think, wait, a physical allergy and a mental obsession, there's a spiritual solution? And it's amazing because there's so many people that realize that the only way that they stay sober and spiritually fit is to help the newcomer. So it's this community of and I tell you, the feeling that I get when guys call me up, and I'm telling you, my sponsees got me through the pandemic because my sponsor, who I worked with like for 13 years, died right before the pandemic. And, you know, I got some spiritual friends. I got some spiritual advisors that I can go to, and I'm continuing to work the steps and, you know, stay close to the community. I went to tons of online meetings and everything during the pandemic. But these sponsees would call up, you know, talking about some problem, and just listening to the problem and talking about, you know, spirituality got me out of my head so much that I didn't feel like, you know, I was so overwhelmed, you know. And you know what they say, when you take the alcohol out of the alcoholic, you're left with the ick, you know. So I still got the ick, baby. You know,
Nice.
I'm crazy as can be, you know. It's like, what's this guy? I was up in Maine, and he said, you know, the circus may not be in town, but the monkey's still on your back. I was like, fuck. Or maybe it's the other way around, right? The monkey's off your, that's what it is. The monkey's off your back, but the circus is still in town. That's what it was. That's what it was. That's what it was. You know, kind of thing.
Either
Yeah, the
works.
monkey's off your back. But, so that was really, for me, you know, a real
Yeah.
turning point. And the Reverend was like named before. You know, I was sitting there smoking pot one night, and my friend was like, "Oh man, you're like some lonely freak child, just smoking pot all day. I'm going to the party." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit here and do some work on this bag," you know.
Oh, this is the Freakchild persona. You
Right,
mean
and
okay.
then it became this thing where I sort of lived into it. And actually, this shaman is on my mind because I'm going to go see him on Saturday. I haven't seen him for, since the pandemic, you know, like maybe two and a half years before the pandemic when I was back east. And I said, man, yeah, when I was starting this Master of Divinity, which just keeps going on. I've been working on it for 7 years now, making the most of my midlife crisis. But he said, nephew, sometimes, you know, art imitates life, and sometimes life imitates art. So I came up with this character to, like, explore the blues and spiritual music, and it worked on me. You know, that's what music does. And you live into these songs, you know, whether you're writing them or you're just covering them, you know. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe we'll play a couple more tunes.
Yeah,
you know,
but I want you to tell folks about you know, your latest album.
Yeah, there's
I
a
think you
new
should.
album called Supra Mundane Blues. It was my pandemic project. It was this thing called the Psychedelic Trip Hop Mass, which is a bonus disc, about 20 minutes. It's a liturgical mass, you know, asking for peace from Jesus and God and the powers that be, and all these like crazy, you know, psychedelic samples on it. And then there's a above board disc of, you know, rock and spirituals, I call them. And it's really a sort of a history for me of the, you know, Holy Blues or the Gospel Blues, as they say it. And it starts off with this tune, which is an old Sunhouse tune called Preachin' Blues. And it's really, you know, Sunhouse was a preacher, and he heard a little blues music, and he put down the Bible and picked up his guitar.
All right, Reverend Freakchild.
Well, now, gonna get religion, gonna join the church. Well, gonna get religion, gonna join the Baptist church. Well, I'm gonna act like a preacher, and then I won't have to wait. Hey. Well, now, I want everybody to jump and shout. Yeah. Well, yeah, want everybody to jump and shout. Hey. Yeah, gonna do like a prisoner, gonna roll my time on out. Yeah, so I went back up in my room, tried to kneel down and pray. Yeah. Well, now I went back up in my room, tried to kneel down and pray. Yeah, but the blues that came along, yeah, they blew my spirit away. Just preaching them blues. Yeah. Just preaching them blues. Yeah, preaching them blues. Just preaching them blues. I say now, if I had a heaven, if I Yeah, I was reading an article about that, that, what is it, this little ending. Because they, used to cut albums right to the wax, right? So there would be a little light that was green, and then when it hit red, it meant you had like 3-5 seconds to end a tune. So it's like tunes like that. Like Sunhouse is going along, playing this riff. And then the little red light comes on, and he's like, oh shit, that's the end of the song, And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because they come out of nowhere, those endings. And you're like, oh, right, that's the end of the wax. And it's bam, it's on there, Technology sometimes defines how the art is presented. So I'm doing the best I can with this little guitar here. If you are interested in more of the Reverend, check out the sounds that we produce with other musicians. I try to take it back about 100 years and just doing the guitar and whatever I can do here without electronics. But then when we get in the studio, it's like, all bets are off. Like whatever electronic and craziness, psychedelic stuff comes out. So it's like sort of two different, aspects of the same kind of expression. But anyway, we'll keep it going way back into the hills. This is a tune called Roland and Tumbling. I don't know who wrote this, and it shows up in many very different incarnations in traditional, country blues and such like that. But here's a little tune. This is the Freakchild version of it. Well, now I rode and I tumbled, yeah, all night long. Well, I rode and I tumbled, yeah, all night long. Well, I woke up this morning, and sweet brisket roller was gone. Yeah, so I'm going up on the mountain, yeah, see what I can see. Well, I'm going up on the mountain, yeah, see what I can see. Crying, Lord, 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 won't you have a little mercy on me? Well, now if I had possession, yeah, over Judgment Day, I say if I had possession over Judgment Day, I say I wouldn't have no right, I wouldn't have no right to pray. So I'm going up on the mountain, yeah, see what I can see. Yeah, well, I'm going up on the mountain, yeah, see what I can see. Crying, Lord, 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 won't you have a little mercy? Lord, won't you have a little mercy? Lord, won't you have a little mercy on me? Done. Thank you. Something like that. Well, I think we got time for one more, right? One more and then a more. One more and then one more.
Yeah,
and then an encore. Yes. Well, we, let's. I hope these guys will help me. You all. I can't see who's up there, but maybe anybody's in here in the studio. And thanks. How about a big round of applause for all these guys setting this amazing technology up. Hallelujah. Amazing stuff. And thank you for having me. And all that stuff. This is an old Reverend Gary Davis tune, who's a real, hero of mine. He was a Harlem street singer, but he was a Carolina picker, and he was a blind guy, and apparently he was pretty foul-mouthed when he wasn't recording, but he recorded all these, he was telling dirty jokes and dirty stories, and his wife would come around and be like, oh yeah, so let's work on that 12 Gates of the City song, yeah, great, so he was a real character, but he did this tune called It's Gonna Be Alright. I think sometimes it's called Deep in My Heart. But it's a great way, if you don't know English, it's a good way to learn English. it's a beautiful tune, and you're thinking maybe, I don't sing along with songs, but try it, you know? You might feel better. If you're feeling good already, maybe you just feel better, you know, even than that. So anyway, it goes a little something like this. Let me teach it to you. Here it goes. When trouble comes, I pay it no mind. Gonna be alright someday. Deep in my heart, do believe I'm gonna be alright someday. It's hard to like lead the congregation and hold down the whole band. Usually I got a bass player and a drummer and all kinds of guitars and crazy harmonicas and stuff, but anyway, we're gonna do the best we can here solo. So if you want to sing with me or sing in response, here, let's try it one time. Here it goes like this. We'll sing it out to all our loved ones. Come on, people, now. Here we go. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright someday. Yeah. Deep in my heart, I do believe gonna be alright someday. Alright, that's feeling pretty good, you know. Sing it out to the loved ones. Everybody needs a love. Everybody just wants to be happy, right? Come on now. Let's send it out to the 8 billion people on the planet. There's 8 billion people just on this planet, man. That's like crazy, man. Billions and billions. And that's not even counting the aliens, but let's not get into that. There we go. Come on, people. Let's send it out to neutral people. Maybe all the people that you've seen on your smartphone or seen on TV that you're never going to meet. Let's send them out a good vibe. Come on, man. Here we go. Yeah. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright someday. Yeah. Deep in my heart, I got to believe gonna be alright someday. Alright, that was some good work, people. We got some more work to do. Come on, let's send one out to the difficult people. They might be the same ones that you were singing to, you know, the loved ones, but they're this, you know, kind of irking you today, you know. Come on now. Everybody just wants to be happy. Little one for the difficult people in our lives. They're having a hard time. You never know where people might be coming from or the battles they might be fighting. Come on now. Here we go. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright someday. Yeah. Deep in my heart, yeah, do believe gonna be alright someday. Alright, that was some good work, but we got one more level to go. We gotta send one out to our enemies. And you know, I don't mean to be preaching at you, but I am the Reverend Freakchild. You know, it says in Matthew, and I think it's in Luke too, yeah. It says love your enemies. It doesn't say like them. It says love them. Come on now, people, let's dig deep. You know, let's reach across the aisle. Let's reach across the pond. Let's reach across the universe. Come on, people, dig deep. Let's just send them a good vibe. That's all I'm asking. Come on. Just a little singing with me. It's gonna be all right, right? All right. Hey. Oh, yeah. Gonna be all right.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be all right.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be all right someday. Yeah. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe gonna be all right. Gonna be all right someday, and I think that day is today. Come on, people. Yeah, all right. Give yourself a big round of applause. Yeah, for doing all that good work, and we gotta send one more out from ourselves to ourselves. You know, they say the longest journey is from our heads to our hearts. Come on now, a little self-compassion. With all that good work, sending out good vibes. Woo. Come on now, people. Let's send one from ourselves to ourselves. Here we go. Woo. Yeah. Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright someday. right, people. You know, it's gonna be all right in the end, and if it ain't all right, then it ain't the end. So, you know, just keep praying and keep loving and keep taking care of one another and try to enjoy your time here on planet Earth. Yeah, all right. Come on, one more time, just for all the sentient beings. Maybe some miscellaneous things that we missed. Come on, let's send one good vibe out into the universe. Right here from Lexington, Kentucky on the Red Barn Radio. Come on, here we go. From you to you, wherever you may be. All right. Here we go. All gonna be all right.
Gonna be alright.
All gonna be all right.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be all right someday. Yeah. Deep in my heart, yeah, I do believe gonna be all right. Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah, gonna be all right someday.
All right. Woohoo!
All right, all right, all right, all right.
Well, so many people to thank for this evening. First of all, the Reverend Freakchild
Hey,
for your
thank you.
great, generous, and edifying program this evening. We thank you so much.
Yes, we try to educate. Well, first entertain, educate, and then enlighten. But anyway,
And then, Rev, there's our volunteers and staff who make our production happen so beautifully and flawlessly each and every week. Thank you all out there for listening to our webcast, watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and those listening to us on the network of Red Barn radio stations and media worldwide. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. Those of you here in the Central Kentucky area, you've got to be sure to check out Red Barn TV. It's our weekly program of music now on ABC 36 WTVQ. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Our website has updates and further information on our guests and our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. And now, once again, folks, please welcome back Reverend Freakchild.
thanks, man.
To the Red
Yeah,
Barn
you know, I
stage.
always laugh when I hear that name because, you know, it was kind of a Frankenstein. We were just sort of, you know, that story about Led Zeppelin where they were like, yeah, let's call it Led Zeppelin, and then everybody started calling him Led Zeppelin. You know, I was talking to Radio Joe who hooked this up, thanks to him, and thanks to all you here at Red Barn. It was great, and thanks, Brad, you know, for the conversation, and thanks for letting me entertain you for a little evening. But, you know, Radio Joe was like, I was like, well, maybe I'll change this character, you know, and he's like, no, you can't do it now, man. It's like, everybody knows you as Reverend Freakchild. I'm like, all right, and I'm enjoying doing it anyways. Hopefully, we're putting a good vibe out there in the universe, and, you know, maybe we'll do one more for you here that's a, it's just a little, you know, a cappella number, and maybe we'll just you know, close with this one if that's cool, you know. Yeah. It goes, lay down, my brothers and sisters, lay down and take your rest. Won't you lay your head upon your Savior's breast? We love you. But Jesus or Muhammad or Shiva or Buddha or Yahweh, whatever your higher power idea and concept and beautiful thing might be, they love you the best, and we bid you good night, good night, good night. Thank y'all.
Well, that's all for our show for this week. You know, but you can see and hear Red Barn Radio worldwide as we stream live on the web on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. You can hear archived performances on Spotify and iTunes. You can watch video on the Red Barn Radio YouTube channel. Be sure to check out our social media for updates to our upcoming schedules and more information on our program. And now from all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends worldwide, it is our hope that you have a great week. Keep working together to be safe and healthy. And until next time, good night from Red Barn Radio.